Recording. Yan. Okay. And then, personal information, select folder. Yeah. The name of our database connection, stud, stud info db. So this is our database, and then we will create another table. So we have one table here, which is the information, and then we will create another table for users. Okay, so the name of our table is users, and then how many columns we have? Okay, ID, username, and password. ID, username, password, we have only 3 columns, and then we have for example, UID, user ID, and this is auto increment, and then we have the username, text, and then we have the var char, text, then save. Okay, so we have 2 tables already in our database. We have the information, and then we have the UID, username, and then varchar. Wait, structure. Bakit varchar? Change. That is text and password. Password. Save. Okay. Following columns, we have the UID, username, and password. Okay, and then what's next? So let's go now to our database. I mean in our code. Okay, there, and then so let's go now to our login. So this is our login. Okay, this one. Then so in our index, kasi if we will run this one, so basically it will open our index. So this is the index file, right? So for that, let's see the login module. So in our index, we will, kasi if we will open this one, it should redirect to this login module. So here we have to include the login.php. Okay, so because this is our login.php, so in our index, it will open first the login.php. Okay, so that is working already. Then we will set a session now. Okay, so in our login, I will add some codes here. First, we will include the session. Yeah, session start. Then, um, then we will set a variable for the error. So if in case that there is some error, meantime empty, and then we will use the iset method. Okay, so you'll be able to have an understanding later on which among your respondents wait lang. Will be included, especially if you are targeting projects like wearables, and that needs, of course, human testing, so you will have to look into technical considerations. Okay? So we have here the username and password. Username and password. So for this afternoon, we will be for this class, for our class, the class being originated in the context of engineering and research. And what are the meanings of integrity and ethics? And what are the things in ethics and engineering research? How are we going to balance this and benefit? What are the moral values embedded in engineering and intelligent engineering research? And what are the environmental impact of your research and research? This is our navigation. So first things first, what is the research rate in the United Kingdom? The most trusted profession is doctors and academics. So as you can see, why is this relevant? Because membership of a class profession and position of trust generates special responsibilities. That's why here in the Philippines, we're going to the Philippine setting. We have our own ethical. We will create another ko na lang. We will create another file. Which was always new file. Because as you can see, save as, let's say, login session. Login session.php. I will copy some of my codes, and don't worry, I'll be giving you these codes later on. Okay, so we have the session start, we have the include connection. By the way, this one is our database connection, so we will change this one, the file name. So the correct file name is database connection, and take note for the database connection, we have this one, host name, and then username, password, and then we have the database connection. Don't forget also the variable con. Okay, then after that, if there is some error, okay, so we created, or I created a variable error here, that if in case that there are some error, it will display later on. We have the is set submit button. By the way, this one, because we have the post method here in our login, so if we click the submit button, login function action method, you need to conduct medical, you need to perform where's the enter here? In any cases, in whatever leave form, we have label input, input type submit, leave. I forgot to put an end tag for the form. So this is our form. Okay. So in our form we have the method. The method is equal to post. Okay. Then action will be empty. Empty. Why? Because we will be calling that later on. Okay. So if we click the submit button, it will we use the post method, and then the action is empty. Why? Because why empty? Because in our login session, okay, so in our login session, we will include login. We have here the username and password, but we will include here. So here we will include the login session. Login session.php. Okay, there. So this is our login session. Again, so we have here the username and password. So if we click the submit button, it will be using post, but for the action, it will what? It will redirect to the login session. So this is our login session. Now for the login session is set. Yeah, we have the is set submit. So once we click the submit button here. Wait. The name is submit. Supposedly this is submit. Yeah. So when we click the submit button, this one, then it will, because our action is empty, so it will check the other files, PHP files. So we have here the login session. So in our login session, if we click the submit button, then this function will be turned on. Okay, is set. And then if we have the username and password, by the way, if post username and password is empty, again here, wait, the name is username and password. So that is the name of our text box. We have username and password. Okay, username and password. So if this is empty, if they are empty, so empty, empty. So this variable that we created a while ago, it will have a value string. Both fields are required. Yan. So else if in case that our username and password is not empty, then it will go to our else, which is this one. Okay, yeah. So meaning we enter a data or information in our username and password. So if the username and password is not empty, so it will go here. First, it will we created a variable that will hold the data for the username, and then password naman for the password. And then this one is to protect the MySQL injection. So we have the strip slash methods, and then so this is database connection. Yeah. By the way, in our database connection, we use con. So in our login session, we will use con. Okay, con variable. MD5 password. Okay. MD5 password. For the MD5 MD5 method, that is for hashing or encrypting the password. So later on we will see what is MD5. And then here we have the SQL command. So select all from uh, the name of our table is users. So here from users, where this is the name of our column, username is equal to the data that we entered a while ago, which is the username. And then end password. The password is, that is the column name password, and then we have the variable here. And then if they are the same, then result my SQL query. Again, our database connection is gone, and then we have the SQL command, so that this command will be injected to our database connection. And then fetch array, meaning it will get the data. So for example, if there is a record in our in our database table na they are the same, okay, they are the same, like for example, let's try to add so this is auto increment for the username, for example, Joper, and then password admin 12345, then okay. So for example, here we have the username and password, username Joper, password is admin 12345. So if in case that in our login, because we are still doing the login, so that's why it's still hanging in this page. Okay, so there, if in case that our username is the same with the username in our database there, and then even the password, they are equal, then we have the database connection, and then read also the SQL command. After that, it will put, so if there is a record in there, it will be put in an array. Okay, so the connection of the SQL command, we have the database connection, and then we have the variable result, result here. Okay, so check the username and password from the database if there is. If the username and password exists in your database, then create a session, otherwise echo error. So if MySQL number of rows, this method is used for counting the number of rows in our result. Okay, so by the way, this is our result there. Okay, if we have one record, if we have one record, if we have one record, then it will do the session. It will do the session. So session username, I'll be discussing to you what is the use of this one. Username as the login user. The initializing session, and then it will redirect to the home page. But in our system, kasi we don't have the home, it will redirect na lang in our create, maybe. Okay, it will redirect in our create form. So it will redirect to create form.php. So else, if there is no record in our database, there is no record, it will display later on incorrect username and password. Okay. In our login.php, By the way, the usage of this one, the error, variable error in our here, where we put, what if we put that after the form? So we'll put div div class error div div then php command echo the value of error. Yeah. Yan. Okay. So it will display now the value of our error. That's why in our login session, if you notice, our error is for the meantime it's empty. So when you run the program, it will show nothing in this part. But here, if in case that the username and then or the password, I'm using the or operator, if they are not if they are empty, okay, if they are empty, then it will display both fields are required, because that will be the value of our error, and then it will be displayed in this part. Okay, yan. And what else? Ito naman, this one, if in case that there is no record, okay, our username and password is not empty, okay, so it will go in this part. But if in case that when checking in our database, so if sees only, a record, then it will do the session. Then if in case that it has no record in our database, then it will display incorrect username and password, and then display the username and password. I use this command for checking if we have a value in our username and password. Okay, then next, so let's see. So still not running here, still empty. Why? Because we include the login there, then in our session, start session, so still we don't have any content, we don't have any value from our username and password, kasi we didn't yet click the submit button, right? Are they the user of the device that they're on? Will it be embedded sa kanilang katawan? Will they take the product? Yeah, this is something okay, so in our login.php, so from there you will be able to classify the vulnerability because of the index. Now if they are just users, wait, index, for example, operator, login.php, it doesn't impose any harm to their body, then therefore login.php. Let me remove this one. Save. Let's say for example, I'm creating a device, I'm creating a toy that will help the kid learn physics. The question is, will your device be able to will your device impose harm? So this is our login. One of the requirements is the login session, but in our login session, so definitely they will still be falling under the vulnerable groups. Okay?
So that's why you're going to choose your human subjects. Okay, that's why you're going to choose your human subjects.
Anyway, this is
So as much as
on.
possible, if you can
Wait.
specify like the age range,
Log
like
in,
farmers aging
then log in
35
session.
or senior farmers,
Yep.
or ganito, kunyari farmers yung
So in our login,
respondents,
okay, so we will now set yeah, the session. So if is set,
so that's how you're going to, ethically, that's how you're going to identify your human subject. And then of course, sabi nga ito, that it is human issue, so we will be embedded,
then we have
so,
the
pero yung mga kumukuha ng
data
pharmacy,
sign
they
session.
need to undergo what we call as ethical reviews. So usually,
Session
maliit lang
by
talaga, rare or
username.
common for engineering projects to undergo review, ethical review, unless it harms
Is
or it is
not
something that the human subject will intake,
empty,
or it's something that the human subject will wear,
then
it will have an adverse effect sa tao. So that's how
header
the research will undergo ethical review. Okay?
redirect
And then
to
of course, use of human data. We all know
create
that we are
underscore
governed by the
form
Data Privacy Act. We
that
have our own
PHP.
Republic
Save.
Act on that one. So you have to be very careful with images. Okay? Kailangan may consent sila. So
Nothing
we are
happened.
actually anybody
Index,
can sue
this
any
is
one of
our
us.
navigation
If
bar.
we're going to, like, for example, kinuha mo lang sa Facebook,
What
without
if we
permission,
will go to
then,
our login that
kunyari, yung ginamit mo sa sample date lang mo,
nothing happened pa.
generate ng device
Anyway,
mo.
so in our index, that is our
Without a written
navigation
permission,
bar.
they can sue
Then
you
after
for.
the navigation
Okay,
bar,
that's why it's
it
very
will
important
also
to
include
put
our
the
login.php. So this is our login.php.
research.
So we have the
Use of
username
human
and
data
password.
needs to have
So if we click the submit
okay,
button,
if permitted you, well and good. Pero
then
maya
it
may
will
range
go
kung
to,
saan ang pinakalaban nila. So you have to be very careful.
let me delete this image.
Presentation of research results in
Save.
equal and balanced manner. So it's important, especially when you will be having later on you'll be computing your statistical data.
Personal
how to
information.
provide a mean of ganito, what are your considerations, what are your parameters you included.
So if we click the submit, it will open the login session. So this is our login session. Check our database. Then if submit,
of your respondents, okay, referring to the people who tested your device or who tested your research, your study. Never ever
username,
kasi
password,
gusto mo na kailangan makita yung good or very good or excellent.
username and password.
Huwag na huwag mo i-attend yan. Kaya one of the questions is commonly asked during design project, actually we're having defenses on the desktop too, which you will undergo next semester. One of the common questions is how did you derive your computations? How many respondents? Kasi sometimes may mga ambiguity sa data. Like 10 yung kanyang respondents, pero yung kanyang result is decimal data. Ibig sabihin, hindi mo ma-derive yung decimal
Username
data
is
kung whole number or like
empty.
it's a full number yung walang butal kumbaga. It's an even number. It's definitely even number.
So in our session,
A full number. So, kaya nga, every time that they undergo the test flow, one of the most ambiguous part of the defenses is the results of the study. How do you arrive at a 73.33%? You only have like 6 respondents. So, iba ngayon. So, you need to make sure that the presentation of your results, okay, though ngayon, wala pa naman kayong results in your subject with me, but later when you have your desktop, kinakailangan mo, you have to remember your results should be full and
Wait.
in balanced manner. So whatever the results,
let me rename this
okay,
one.
of your research,
Column time.
below siya. Okay, wala
And
kang
then,
nagagawa doon kasi
what
all
if
your
our
responses are received.
login
Okay? Kaya iba kasi,
will be
kaya
our
as
index
possible, we have later on
name?
na show into the concept of
So this will be our
importance.
index.
When you let a
Refresh,
respondent
nothing
answer
happened.
or test the device,
Index,
for example, they have the right to withdraw.
we have the login session.
Kunyari, like, okay, napili mo sila, pumayag sila. Kailangan lahat ng respondents are voluntary. Hindi sila napilit, hindi sila yung like, tropa kita. Hindi mo naman napasok, punta naman na doon sa interview na ginawa ko. Masumat ka na sa survey na ginawa ko. Kasi that imposes bias. Ibig sabihin hindi magiging balance yung result. Kasi may meaning balance.
Database connection with PHP.
Yung standard or yung balance result mo. Ganun talaga. So yun talaga yung perspective ng mga respondents mo. Now, the respondents have the right to withdraw. Now, what if in the middle of the research, nag-withdraw yung respondents? What do you do? Anybody? Any idea? Any idea? Okay, let me check out their name. Rina. Okay, I'll ask again the question. Paano kapagka yung
We're using an
okay. Paano kapagka yung respondents mo?
users.
Okay, what are the respondents mo is
Select all from users. Select all from users. Select all from users. Where the username, so this is the name of our column.
going back. So, we will mention naman kung
Username,
kailangan yung results mo.
username, and then password.
So, common notion na nangyayari, how are you going now to, what are you going to do if and only if at the middle of your research conduct, one or two of your
Start.
respondents nag-withdraw sila?
Fresh.
What will you do? Read na.
Tayo niyo mag-redirect.
Isa na in.
Index login session.php.
Ang gagawin mo pag nag-withdraw? Yes. Okay. The data will not be included. And at the same time, what will you do? No. Okay. So what we'll do is, once the respondents withdrawn, in the middle of the research, limang respondents mo na-withdraw. Anong gagawin mo? So first things first, the data that came from them, kunyari naging part sila ng survey, hindi na yung kasali sa total data mo. Pangalawa, whatever data they have, you have to
Index.
so
we have the login session, database connection.php, error submit if empty, error else, get the data variable, then check if they are equal.
Kaya kailangan, when you create your results, it should be something that is
And there is a record in our database. One,
so here are some of the
then
focus
session,
or things that you
username,
need to understand when you
login
do
session, and
engineering.
header, location, create form.
Aspects of technological development. So whether it's a technology, as I said, there's always two sides of every coin. Kahit sabihin na natin, the result is beneficial, still there's always the negative part. It's important that you have to consider moral values. And then engineering projects, generating possibilities and risks. Engineers share responsibility for creating benefits. Yan. So basahin nyo na lang ito. Now let's go over with the very important thing.
Okay. Um, hmm, let's see. Because we use this one session start, so we will create another file again for the session.php, and in our session.php we have to include the database connection, we have the session start, select username from users table, username check.
Okay, so sorry for that. Okay, so continuing natin,
Okay,
we have
let's
here
try.
balancing risk and benefits. So as you can see, as they say, benefits and engineering achievements, but to what extent should this be tempered by highlighting the potential risks? So you have to, here include computing and also sensing, you need to also balance your risk and yung benefits. Gaya na sabi ko kanina, in the concept of technology alone, yes, it eases human life, but unfortunately, sometimes it's also becoming
Localhost,
okay. So
personal information.
here are some of the things that we can read on personal integrity. So what is personal integrity?
Nag-work. Maybe because of the cache.
So the classical concept of integrity.
By the way, class, you have to clear your cache in
You
here
have to accept and share responsibility for your work.
in order for you
And
to
you have to foresee risk and possible harm.
run the program. Personal information, yes. So it's
One
working.
of the design projects
Okay, and then we have the username and password. Again, what happened here is first, because this is empty, so when we enter that, it will open this file because this is the default, and then we have the login session. We included the login session. By the way, this one is this is for the username and password. So we have the username and then we have the password, and then when we click the submit button, it will open this one, the login session.php, and then we have the, because we have this session start, so you have to create this file. Okay, session include the database connection. Then I've already explained this one to you. So this one, yeah. So if the MySQLi number of rows, for example, in our database we have Joffer and then password. So for example, Joffer and then the password 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have one record that they're the same with the username, and then we have the password, right? We have one record there. By the way, this one. And select all from the username, where username is equal to username and password is equal to password. And then we have one record. So if we have one record, meaning the login user will initialize the username that we enter, which is Joffer. And Joffer. Okay? And that will be the value of our login user. So the usage of this login user variable is in the session part. Okay? So in our session part, again, this one,
you have to imaginatively, while you are creating its design, right? You have to imaginatively foresee.
so it will initialize the username that we enter as the value of our session.
will
Next,
be will provide this
so in our session,
harm.
there,
And then,
session
as soon
username,
as possible,
it will get the value now of the username, then pass that to our user checker or user check, and then we have also the MySQL command here. By the way, the database connection or variable is con. Then select username from users where username equal to check. Row fetch array, then login user will now have the value of username. Then if that is not set, so it will go to the index. Let's see. So Joker admin 1 2 3 4 5.
Important for us to determine our conflict of interest. Okay? As they say, due to economic pressure, syempre for you, for your case, when you will conduct your research later on in your design project,
Dapat natin happen.
you have your own interest.
We have
Depende yan sa
because this is hashtag.
sometimes because you're funded by a
Hashtag.
certain individual or certain company, you just abide with what they want. Kaya it's important for you to determine first what are your
MD5, right?
Okay?
Where is this one MD5, so we will convert muna. MD5
Sometimes companies will hire
convert
you
to text.
and they want to impose a certain result. Okay? So, kaya kailangan when you sign up your conflict of interest, whatever is the result, family leverage. Okay? So, it's important for you also to determine what you want to happen. It's not what your sponsor would like to happen. Kasi ang tinutukoy
Convert
ng sponsor,
string to hash. What mean 1 2 3 4 5 convert.
like for example, one of the
So this is the hashtag. We will rename
it's technopreneurship initially.
there.
Pero they
Then
focus
let's
on
try it again.
second research.
Joker admin 1 2 3 4 5.
Otherwise, that will help that it did not cross their mind what to do with the website. So later on, when you
Kasi meron na dito. It's already.
you have to click off about interest.
This is our create module, right?
Later on,
So in our create module, again, this is our navigation bar.
is something that is commission. Okay? That's, you have to look into also. And ang target ngayon is majority of
So
engineering
this is our navigation bar, right?
Ibig sabihin,
So
pwede rin siyang ibenta. Kasi later
in
on,
our,
pag-graduate ninyo,
so let me rename this one. This is navigation bar.
unless you want to become a corporate trader, go on.
Navigation bar.php. So it
Why not create your own business? Kaya nga, yung isa sa mga projects na yun yung gabay, it's the first, I think it's the third
and create form. So in our create form, because again I changed the index. Now the index is my login, and then I rename. A while ago, the navigation bar is our index.php, but we changed that one. Okay, so in our create form, rather than calling again the index, again the index is our login, the username and password, why not we will call now the navigation bar .php. Save, then refresh. So include navigation bar, save, refresh. There you go. So we have the login. Login not found. Wait lang. Navigation bar. Again, we don't have the login.php, but you can see here we don't have any login.php, but we have the navigation bar.php.
Kasi there's a commercialization business. Okay? So, yun, ito manage nyo. But of course, you have to always
Refresh.
be still put your contact details. Kailangan
There
naman
you go.
hindi yung
Login.
gusto ninyo, hindi
Navigation bar.
Okay?
So in our
So,
navigation
there's a
bar,
relevant statistic here. I just use the last part of the topic.
we will include.
Demonstrate how this can affect research results without the statistics. As they say, 94% of researchers replies to the tobacco industry found no harm in
include
the studies starting second-hand smoke. And 30% with no such
index.
harm reported.
Again, the index.php is our navigation. I mean the login.
Sponsorship are 7 times less than
Ay, dapat nasa taas.
harmful
What
effects
happened?
of second-hand smoke. Remember, as I say, it's not just what is reported.
Let me remove na lang muna for the meantime.
Also, kung ano yung hindi na-report, important rin.
Login. So, there.
94%.
And then after that, if we have a login,
wala siyang harmful effect.
we will try to,
Yung 6%
in our navigation bar, we will add a logout.
6% will say
So,
that there is a harmful.
logout.
Okay? It's important that it's not just what we reported.
Logout.php. Now in our logout.php,
Okay?
it will destroy the session.
You have your fundamental moral values and responsibilities.
So we will create a
You
file,
have to consider
logout file, logout.php, and then our code will be, it will destroy the session.
I still have time
Let's see.
to show you the last part.
Logout.
Okay, so we
Yes.
have here what we call
Okay. So Joffer, admin 12345. Yan. Okay. Read. Okay. So in our read module again, so in our read module or read form, we will not include the index anymore because the index is our login. But rather, we will include the navigation bar.php. Okay. Refresh. Read. Search. Now, even the search form, we will include the navigation bar.php. Save. Create, read, search, and logout. Now, there. Again, what if we will enter an invalid username and password? So there is a username and password. So incorrect username and password. Again, let's see. So username and password, login, incorrect username and password. How about if that is empty? So both fields are required. Yeah, so that is in our login session. Incorrect username and password, and then we have both fields are required. But if they are correct, okay, if both are correct, again, here, so we have select all from where the username and password. So we have, if we can see only one record, which is here, it is true that we have one record here, there. By the way, this is hashtag. The hashtag, or I mean, the MD5 is used for encrypting a data. So rather than using the admin 12345, when you use the MD5 hash, it will convert these characters into other set of characters. Okay? There. So we have one record. So if in case that we have one record, now our session username, which is this one, Joffer, will be the value of our login user, and then it will redirect to our create form. So when we click the login form there, so it will redirect to our create form. Okay, yeah. So again, now the value of our login is Joffer. So let's see.
Okay? So, hindi siya
in
yan. It's not a one
in our
size fits
login
all,
navigation
but
bar.
rather it's a manifest or respect. So, may mga ganong
Navigation
term
bar.
doon na voluntas
Wait.
patriotis suprema. Ibig sabihin, you are giving them the respect and they have the position, freedom
Okay, navigation
to
bar,
choose if they're going to take part
redirect.
of your
Log out, meaning the
And
log
then,
out
of course,
is
it
to
means
destroy
that
the
participant will
session.
practice under permission, and you have the researcher
What else?
show appreciation.
If you can see here, I can bypass.
So, it should have the
Okay,
following
we have
components.
create underscore form dot php.
So, it's as
So
much
we
as
can
possible,
bypass. So this is useless, right?
your
The
consent to
login
do
module is
with
useless.
complete relevant information.
Okay.
So, say for
If we
consent,
can
maglalagay kayo ng
bypass
very brief
the
information about the user.
the login.
Okay? And it should
So
not be
yun.
something that
Create
is
pwede ano yun? Read form dot php.
And then, the information should be
So, to make your web application more safer, then in
And then, of course, the decision, as much as possible, to give them the freedom to
for
take
example
all the
in
time.
our
So, it's according
read
to
form
the
na lang. In
email.
our read form,
And then, here's my
you have to include
consent. So, the consent is
You have to
an
include
agreement. Meaning, I permit, meaning
the,
I allow myself, and
session
substitution.
session.php.
Okay?
Again, for the session.php, this is your session.php. It will check if there is
So, should be the
uh,
perform the action. Okay? Should
if there
make sure
select all
that
from the user where the username is equal to user checker.
subject
Yeah.
assigned.
Okay, so if we have a value of the session username, kapag meron siyang value, refresh, there. And then what? It will, if in case na is not set, I mean the session username in this part, if this is empty, okay, we don't have any value for this one, if in case, then what will happen? It will redirect to our index.php. And again, our index.php is this one.
So, I will show you later on a sample.
So I cannot bypass now. So for example, read underscore form dot php, then there. Again, if we remove the session.php here, remove then save, then I can bypass. I can bypass.
So,
So create underscore form. Here. Okay? Here. So this is very important. Copy. Then also in our create form, you have to include also the session. Refresh. Okay? So even though we will bypass, for example, read form, then if we don't log in first, then it will go back to our index.php, which is our login. Even in create underscore form .php, then it will redirect also. And then also in our search, kasi we have the search form, search underscore form .php, then we can bypass, right? But in our search form, if we will include the session, yeah, so it will redirect to our index.php. So meaning we cannot bypass. So that is one of the advantage.
Yeah, so meron din
Bakit?
tayo mga children ascend. So these are the age bracket.
Bakit index.php?
So 7 to 12, less than 7, there's no formal ascend. So ibig sabihin, yung kanyang parent, your target is 7 years old and below, and they will not answer you back, so the one who will answer on their behalf are their parents. So make sure
It's
that they
already
have
1:59.
the authorization also.
Okay, so by the way, class, can you leave a message in our chat box for your attendance today?
Ito na, documented verbal assent.